Good morning to you, or good evening, or good afternoon, good whatever time it is you're watching this video. So, sweethearts, I need for you to go ahead and I need for you to grab your spiral notebook, grab your favorite color pencil, turn to a fresh page, and go ahead and put your title, How Words Impact Meaning and Tone, as your heading. And when we get to the next slide, I will give you all that state standard that you need to write down. All right, so when we come to class, you guys know we have a performance-based objective, or a PBO, which will be in our PowerPoints or in our PowerPoints, maybe in our black binder, on our whiteboard. Okay, so here's what we're going to be focusing on. Students will be able to analyze word choice. We know that another word for word choice is diction. So students will be able to analyze the diction or word choice in order to determine, oh, Miss Bond, what is that word? That word is cumulative. Say it with me. Cumulative. Very good. Impact. Specific choices on meaning and tone. So we want to do what? We're gonna think about that, because there are some words that I know you guys do not know. Of course, we're going to define it. This includes how the language invokes a sense of time and place, how it is referring to the words said a formal or informal tone. So at the bottom, we have our words, and I hope you're able to see all the words. Oops, sorry. At the bottom, we have our word bank, and I need for you all to pause this video, and I need for you all to go ahead and get to defining these keywords. We know what analyze means. There it is. You can see it now. We know what analyze means. We know word choice. We're talking about the diction, right? We know that when we're talking about determine, we want you to figure out some things, right? When we're talking about cumulative, we're talking about the overall impact. Or cumulative by itself just means overall, but we're focusing on the overall impact that certain words have on the meaning and the tone of the text. And also mood. We talked about this a little bit when we covered our last standard. So I want you to pause right here. I want you to make sure that you define all of these words. Now, for those of you all who need a refresher on taking Cornell notes, remember your notes need to be in 3 sections for me, not 4. First section is at the top, that top line where you write the title. On the left side, you're going to draw a line, a vertical line. Vertical, think about vertebrate. That is what you are. So a line that goes from top to bottom. And on that left side, where you see your holes in your paper, you're going to actually write down the word, right? So, for example, when I check your notes, you have your title. Your first word needs to be analyze. Analyze should be written to the right. To the left, where those holes are. And then on the other side of that line, that vertical line, you're going to write down the definition. That's how we do definitions in Cornell notes. So left side, words. Right side, the meaning. And I'm going to try to just remind you all throughout this video of what we should do when we're taking Cornell notes, what I'm looking for. All right, so in class, I'm going to ask you these 3 questions. What skill are we learning today? How will we know that you've learned it, and why it is important? You would see reference to these things at the end of the slide. All right, so what I need for you to do is to think about words. So Before you, I have a text message and I want you to read it. And I'm asking you a question. I want you to be able to identify any example of figurative language. If you do not know or remember what figurative language is, to the right, I let you know that figurative language refers to words and phrases that suggest other meanings, or they invoke an image or an emotion. We use figurative language all the time. When we compare, like we use similes and metaphors, that is figurative language. When we use euphemisms, hyperbole, I'm so hungry I can eat a cow. Can I literally eat a whole cow? No. So we use those things all the time. I just need for you to be able to identify those things, those elements of figurative language that we use, so that we can go back in and break it down, analyze it. That's what this class is all about. It's analyzing. You're going to become a very good analyst. Remember, connections and relationships. Connections and relationships. That's what English is all about. English class, literature. All right, so we're going to talk about that in class. Moving forward. Here we go. So now we're going to hop right into the lesson. So word choices are used to impact tone and meaning. So yes, you do need to write this down, okay? Before you ask, you need to write this down. So on the left side, you're going to write word choices. And then on the right side, you're going to say are used to impact tone and meaning. You already wrote down the definition of tone. If you need a better definition, you need to write down tone as the attitude towards the subject. Well, what does it mean when we're talking about attitude? I know you guys think about attitude as far as body language, right? But attitude is really a revelation of someone's belief, okay? So, or their thought process about a particular subject. So, in other words, the author uses words to reveal his or her belief, his or her feelings about a particular subject, about the subject that they are writing about, okay? All right. So when we're talking about meaning, we just want the message. What is the message that the author is suggesting? A lot of times the author is not going to come right out and say, I wrote all this to say, have a wonderful day and a Merry Christmas. No. Again, that's where connections and relationships come in, okay? Now, we need to understand the type of word choices that an author uses, okay? These are not all of the word choices. These are a few. We already know one is the denotative meaning. Denotation is not up here. Denotative is not up here at all. But you know denotative is the dictionary meaning. It's the literal meaning, right? So now what you're going to do is we're going to expound upon what we know when dealing with words, right? So we know denotative is the dictionary meaning, but there are also other meanings behind certain words. One of my favorite words you guys hear me say a lot is polysemous. Polysemous, multiple meaning. We have that prefix poly, right? Poly means multiple. So one word can have a denotative meaning. It can also have a connotative meaning or connotative words. So what you want to write down on the left side, yep, connotative words. And on the right side, you're going to put positive or negative association of the word. Association or another meaning behind the word, another feelings behind that word. The next thing you're going to write down is figurative language. We're talking about words that provide imagery. These are sensory words, similes, metaphors, personifications. All these words When the author uses figurative language, it is to invoke or wake something up in our minds and in our emotions so that we can tap in and make a deeper connection. And then we have setting details, right? And setting details, these are just words that give us a sense of time, a sense of place, right? Here's our example. It was on a dark, dreary night of November when I saw the dull yellow eye of the creature open. Oh, no mortal could support the horror of the countenance. Of that countenance. A mummy again, endued with animation, could not be so hideous as that wretch. I had gazed on him while unfinished. He was ugly then, but when those muscles and joints were rendered capable of motion, it became a thing such as even Dante could not have conceived. You don't know who Dante is? Dante is a writer from way back when. Dante wrote some very, very, very good stuff. Especially if you're someone who like, oh my God, gothic, dark novels, Dante is your person. Anyway, so what we see that the author uses words such as dark and dreary, right? Night of November. These are sensory or setting these are setting details. Then we have the figurative language, right? Hideous. We have excuse me. We got wretch, right? We got the word animation. And then we have connotative words. Why did the author use horror? What other word could he have used, right? And with that word, give us that feeling that we need when you see creature, horror, ugly. What are these things saying to you? What are the thoughts that come to your mind, right? Right. So tone, the tone of this particular passage is what? We could say that it's frightening, it's gloomy, it's dark, it's scary. How do we know? Because we're looking at the words and what these words are doing, right? What is the author revealing? What is his attitude? What is his belief about this subject, right? All right. So then, I forgot to say, this was an excerpt from Dr. Frankenstein. So we're going to look at the meaning. So these words suggest what? That Dr. Frankenstein is frightened because he created a horrific and scary monster. Okay? So we want to ask ourselves several questions. One, why does the author use this word or these words or these phrases? What does this word do to the text? If you're not sure, substitute those words and see how the substitution will change the feel of that text, the belief of that text, the tone of that text, the meaning of that text. All right, so your check for understanding. So which type of word choice is used in A and which is used in B? How do you know? Make sure you have an answer for me when we come to class. Okay? All righty. So, your next check for understanding question. Which word choice convey the tone happy in the text below? How do you know? So pause the screen. Make sure that you have an answer for me, okay? All righty. All righty, so let's write down our steps. This is the skill concept, okay? How do how do we analyze our text? So on your left side, you're going to write down skills to use or / steps to take to analyze word choice and tone and meaning. The first thing we're always going to do is we're going to read the text. And you guys know that whenever you're reading for me, you have to analyze the text. So this time we have a focus. When we're reading and analyzing, we're going to look for diction or word choice that impacts the tone. Well, that means we're going to look for connotative words, figurative words, words that give us setting details. Make sure you wrote that down. So you're going to identify word choices used to impact tone and meaning. You're going to underline or annotate words that are figurative, words that reveal setting details, words that have a connotative meaning, a connotative word. Then, after you annotate those words, something you need to do. But if you annotate with me, like I tell you to, you already got this. This is still a part of step 2. When you identify the type of word choice, then you have to tell me, what do you think it means? Why is the author saying it? What connections can you connect or make? Then step 3, you're going to use all of that to determine the tone suggested by the author. Remember, whenever we're talking about tone, we're talking about the author's attitude. We're talking about his attitude. His attitude is, again, it is his way of thinking about something, his belief about something, his point of view about something, or her point of view about something, her belief. Got it? All right. So then you're going to analyze the meaning. You're going to have to break it down. What does this mean? And what does this mean for this particular passage, sentence, whole text? What does it mean? What does it mean? What does this sentence mean? What does this passage mean? What does this text mean? We have done this a lot. We've done it in an unorthodox way. So don't sweat it. You got it. Okay? All right. So, here's what you're going to do. You're going to take a few minutes to read, pause, and you're going to read. And you are going to make your annotations. What are the connotative words, figurative language words, and the setting details that you are able to pick out from this particular passage, okay? Then you're going to come back to the video, and then, I'm going to have y'all ready for work, for school. Nah. Yeah, we'll do this. We'll finish this in class, this particular part. So what I need for you to do is pause, read. You're going to analyze this particular text. So you should be able to identify connotative words, figurative words, and setting details, right? Okay. Oops. Well, look like I showed you. So guess what? We're going to move forward. Okay. So as you see, I have underlined a few things. So again, this is still an excerpt from Frankenstein, right? And this is a part in Frankenstein where the monster is telling Dr. Frankenstein his life story about his encounters with mankind and how they are cruel, right? So Then the monster asked Dr. Frankenstein to make him a female companion, make him a wife. If you're familiar with, I don't know. See, you guys are so young. Some of you all may know who Frankenstein is. So this is Frankenstein. This is him. This is his conversation, right? And so there are a few things that we notice about him. For example, he says, "For some days I hunted the spot where these scenes had taken place. Sometimes wishing to see you, sometimes resolved to quit the world and its misery forever." Boom. If we just take that, so what is he saying? So we see the word, I hunted the spot. Is this figurative or literal? Can he literally hunt a spot? No. So this is figurative. So what is he saying? Like, what does the word hunt mean? Okay, so then he said, scenes had taken place. What is he saying? How could he have simplified this, right? This is also giving us some details as far as the setting. This is letting us know that something happened there, right? Right. So I want you all to make sure you go through and make sure you think about the things that I've underlined, okay? So based on what you have read, what are the tones of that passage? Is it peaceful? Is it happy? Is it empathetic and understanding? Is it lonely and frustrating? Is it anger or sadness, right? So we're going to go back. If we look at it, hunted the spot, wondered, misery, shunned, miserable, right? So what does that tell us? These words tell us that somebody is frustrated and he's lonely, right? Right. All right. So we're going to circle C. And then my next question to you is, and I know I have the answer up here, how does the choice of word impact the meaning of the text? In other words, what does these words convey? What do they invoke? What do they suggest? Very good. If you made a connection, well, the monster is lonely, he's frustrated. Now, why is he lonely? Why is he frustrated, right? And that will be part of your answer. All right. So we always have to make sure that we are preparing for our state test. That is something that is a must. Being tested on a particular skill is a part of life. So you will see questions like this on your any type of assessment that you have made in-house. I mean, I made it, or your state assessment, or your district assessment. So make sure you're applying the steps that we learn. First thing we need to do is look at our question. It said, what is the effect of the underlying figurative language in the text? So what is your move? Your move will be to go back and do what? Yes, read the underlying portion. Then look at your answer choices below. Then go back and read the text. Soon the boat will fall, which must ravish from you your happiness forever. Well, if we're able to use our answer choices, what emotions do we see? Do we see anger? Do we see someone is lonely? Do we see tension? Do we see sympathy? What are you thinking right now? You know, what connections can you make? Then you go back into your text and then you read a little more. All right. So it creates tension by promising future actions and revenge, right? So you read it. You read the question first. You went back in. You read the underlying statement. You came back. You said, okay, I know the figurative language deals with emotions, trying to evoke emotions. Which emotions are mentioned in my answer choices? You identified those. Then you went back into the text and you said, what connections can I make? What evidence, how much evidence do I have to support that the emotion of hatred and anger is here, or loneliness, or tension, or sympathy? Now, that's me giving you a cheat way. So if you watch this video and you are at 24 minutes in, you learn how to answer multiple choice questions. Alrighty, so this is our very, very, very last slide. So, what does this mean for you? This is what it means, okay? You understand that analyzing the impact of word choices and tone helps you to become a better reader, first of all. And not just reading of text, but reading of people, because we use words. If you're able to understand the words that people use and why they use the words that they do, that will allow you to be more empathetic and sympathetic to your fellow human. Okay? So we know that words, they convey the author's emotions and the author's feelings towards the particular subject, right? We also know that if we're able to do this, it will help us do well on tests. Are there any questions? Are there any concerns? Alrighty, so I shall see you guys in the morning. Enchante, darlings.